Hello, 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 and good evening to all of you. Welcome to a Tuesday night stream where I am going to be doing some photo editing from the 5 rolls that I developed over the weekend, and also some digital ones that I shot when I was away at the beginning of the month with my husband for our anniversary. So we got mostly film for tonight, but there'll be a few digital images sprinkled here and there. So welcome on in. Thank you for spending some of your Tuesday evening with me wherever you are. Always appreciate having the pleasure of your company. So welcome. I am E. Royvis, but I'm also known professionally with my photography as Brian J. French. So welcome. So a lot of these images that you're going to see tonight are of dead things. It's something I like to photograph regularly, particularly using film. So at the end of April, and so the last weekend of April and the first weekend of May, I was on Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard. And coastal New England and coastal Massachusetts in particular have a lot of old Puritan and early American cemeteries dating back to the 1600s, when the first colonists came on over. And because a lot of those headstones are made out of slate, a good chunk of them have survived the test of time and are pretty well preserved, combined with a pretty active community to make sure that those headstones are preserved and legible for generations to come also help. But as you're going to see, if you've never seen me edit images of headstones before, old headstones before, you're going to see that the Puritans and early colonists were very, very extra in death. Like, modern headstones are so boring in comparison, and that'll be borne out as we progress through the evening. So, if that's something you enjoy, we'll then settle on in, and for the next 2 hours or so, and yeah. So all the black and white images that you're going to see tonight was shot on film, specifically film called medium format, and this is what it looks like. Actually, I'll give you a better visual aid. Let me give you a nice visual. Compare it to 35 millimeter. I know. Depending on some of you out there, you may be wondering what the hell all this film is, especially in the realm of digital photography and instant photography. But this is 35 millimeter. This was the standard film size, and it looks like this. You know, standard 35 millimeter black and white film. Medium format is about double width, and it was the standard for film photography up into the 60s. Before then, 35 millimeter was primarily a film, like motion picture film. That was the Hollywood standard. This size was the standard for amateur photography. And so we'll just do a side-by-side here. That's what you get. Like, it's like medium format is almost exactly double the width. And what that does, if you're shooting film, It's basically the equivalent, the larger size film is basically the equivalent of having more resolution. If you were to make a analogy to digital, because the larger the surface of the film, the more area you have for light to strike, which means you can get greater detail than you can with 35 millimeter. And you can get very sharp, crystal clear images with 35 millimeter. I've taken thousands of images on 35 millimeter film. Great images. But if you've been doing this for a long time, and you start shooting medium format, you start to notice that those images you shoot on medium format are just a little sharper, a little crisper, a little more detailed. And that's just simply because you have more room for light to strike. So all the black and white images you're going to see tonight are of this this size, this medium format, also known as 120 film. So we're going to start with this. All of these images were scanned yesterday and today. No, Sunday, yesterday, and today. So yeah. And if you saw me on the Artists Together raid train this past Saturday, you actually got to see me develop a roll of film live. So some of those images you will see specifically from that roll. And our tone already looked pretty good. I don't have to adjust black and white point. So, let's do this. I have a long-running series on my website called Request. I'm now blanking on the pronunciation, but it's the Latin for rest in peace. Requiescat, that's what it is. And oddly enough, this whole series was inspired by Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Specifically, their album Beethoven's Last Night, which is an amazing album. And because this is a black and white image as opposed to color, these are occasionally easier to edit. Because all you're doing is just working with values here instead of colors. There's no colors to balance. There's no saturation to adjust. It's all brightness and contrast. That's all. and the smoothing out and getting rid of any sort of dust or scratches that show up in the scan. Because even though whenever I handle film, I always wear these white gloves, and I try to clear my scanner of any dust. I scan these at 2400 ppi. It'll find it. So, if you've ever been curious as to how I scan, so just off camera, just to my right, I have an Epson Perfection V800 flatbed scanner, and its main purpose is to do high resolution scans of photographs and also negatives of various sizes. You can use it for documents, you know, it will do that, but its primary function is for high res scans of negatives. So with medium format, the scanner itself comes with a whole variety of negative holders for different size film. This one specifically is for medium format, and I just, open it up, lay the negative on, put it upside down, and the scanner will do its thing at whatever settings I tell it to do it. Like, I also have a negative carrier for 35mm, and there's one more in here that it came with, and that is for scanning slides. Like, I don't know if any of you out there remember photographic slides. But this will scan slides and slide film at high resolution. Now comes the fun. Now comes the most fun part of this whole thing, which is editing out the very obvious dust and scratches. Nope. And man, this definitely beats the old-fashioned way. So when I was a student in college taking Photo 1 and Photo 2, which at then it was film. It was nothing but film. Back in 2012. When we would make a finished print in the darkroom, we'd let it dry, and then at the end, we would have to just, we have to go through with look at really close to see if you found any sort of really obvious dust and scratches. Because again, you're in the darkroom. It's not a squeaky clean environment. Dust happens. And if there were any sort of really noticeable specks of dust or scratches from either the negative or maybe the enlarger glass, then you would have to take a very, very fine, like really fine paintbrush and basically, and so you'd have to get a really fine paintbrush, and you'd also have to have a little bottle of like black of India ink, really black India ink, and you would have to just take a tiny bit of that India ink and dilute it to where you get the value that was closest to what you needed. So whatever shade of gray you needed, and then with that very, very fine, like 2 hairs paintbrush that you had, you'd have to dip it in that India ink, and then right up close to the thing, and then stipple that dust out, or yeah. And that was the most frustrating part of the entire process. I hated it. So this one looks pretty good to me. All right. Oh yeah, let's go to this one. So this that last image that I just showed you, and this image are from the same cemetery. It was the last cemetery that that I visited on Martha's Vineyard, and it's called Abel's Hill, and it's in the town of Chilmark, and it's a pretty big cemetery. It has a lot of old death in it, and it's very neatly split into 2 sides. There's the actual hill, part of Abel's Hill, is where all of the old death is, the really old death. And then there's the new section. But Abel's Hill Cemetery has a little bit of some notoriety to it, because somebody quite famous back in the 70s and 80s is buried in here, an actor by the name of John Belushi. And his headstone's in here. Make that bigger. All right, not too much. Make it a little brighter. Not too much, though. I don't want to go too much. It's a little quiet out there, so if anybody out there is watching, wants to say hey, wants to share some of their own artwork, just let me know. I have absolutely no qualms about sharing other people's art. And if anybody out there is watching from the web creative community, welcome, hello, and good evening. Glad to be part of the team. Good. Lovely. Who's healing me? Ah, okay. Well, let's... Now we're going to go in and see if we've got any noticeable dust and scratches to filter out. And how I... Okay, so how I can tell if something is a dust or a scratch. So, like, see in this... Way down in this corner here, you see these very bright, like, little white flecks? That's how I know it's dust, because it's, you know, it's sticking right out of the background there. Something that's that pure white, it's... Like, that. That is a little tiny speck of dust. That was on the glass or on the scanner glass or the negative. So what I do... is I basically do the Photoshop version of Stipple, which is the clone tool. Believe me, it is so much easier than trying to use India ink and the tiniest paintbrush known to man. But if there is an area that just had a lot of, just for whatever reason, the scanner just picked up a lot of dust, then the quick way that I use is it's up in the filters section. There is a dust and scratches filter, which does a pretty good job of getting rid of most of that if there was a bunch in a pretty concentrated area. Okay. So let's go to one that I know was on one of the roles I developed. The ones that you saw me develop. Okay. We'll take a slight break from... We'll get back to you. This one. This is one of the nature ones that I took. I actually like how this came out. Really. Like, it definitely reminds me of something, of one of my favorite photographers and one of my biggest inspirations, Mr. Edward Weston, whose work so much emphasizes just shape and form. You know, basic elements of design, but very, very strong images. Anyway, this was taken at Katama Beach, which is on basically the southeastern corner of Martha's Vineyard. Yep, I figured as much. So we don't want to go too dark on this, because it was a very bright day, and if I go too dark, I'm going to lose the shadow detail. It's right in there. I mean, it's like I could do that, but nah. Just a little. Brightness and contrast will take care of the rest. And when I make the sky a little bit dark, it almost looks like I've got a red filter on the lens. Let me just save it as this. Doesn't do a damn thing because I'm on the wrong layer. My friend and yours. The clone tool. Just a little boop. Just a quick little boop. Caught some of the flying birds out there. They're just very tiny specks. I captured a lot of the film grain here. I wonder if it was because I was using older film. It wasn't expired. Or maybe how I developed it. Either way, I like the effect. Cool. Okay, I said we were coming back to this one. So, as I said, Puritans, early American burials just were extra. Now, this is a bit of an unusual one because most of the ones, like some of your more common, headstone art carving in many Puritan and early American headstones, it would be a variation on this, on the skull and crossbones. Another pretty regular common one is you get the angel, something like this with memento mori, or remember you must die. And you find a whole ton of different variations on the skull and crossbone, or you get skulls and crossbones, or you get the skull with wings, something like that. Here's the skull with wings with bones over it. So you get, that's a pretty common thing. But to have a little tiny portrait in here, that usually indicated that someone had some money and paid the carver to do this, and almost 300 years later, it's we look at it now and it's like, oh god, that's so creepy. That's good old-fashioned nightmare fuel. But that's what you had. Why is my phone going absolutely... Okay. My phone does this thing with delayed notifications. So it's like, just out of the blue, like once an hour, if I'm not actively looking at my phone, I'll just get a tremendous amount of notifications at once. Alright, so this one we're going to crop a little bit. Some of these will probably wind up going on my Redbubble store as greeting cards. I know there's a particular friend of mine and fellow artist that likes to collect these. And again, our curves are looking pretty good here. I don't have to adjust blacks and whites too much, if at all. So I'd like to do a little bit of this vignetting. It's something I've sort of picked up within the last few years, you know, when I'm editing my own work. And I know that I could just as easily tell Photoshop to do a vignette, but I like doing it manually because it still, to me, gives that appearance of a, you know, doing it in darkroom. It's still that whole little dodging and burning the corners sort of thing. Alright, let's see if we can... I definitely noticed some dust and scratches floating around, so... Whoa! We have a raid! Low base guy. Rating with a 5. Alright, good evening! Good evening, welcome on in. Winged, welcome! Long time no see. F Mead Photography, thank you for the follow. Oh, good evening. Good evening. Welcome on in. I'm editing some of the things that I developed over the weekend. Good evening. No agitation. So I developed 5 roles over the course of the weekend. I just did a couple of images from the one specific role that I developed. Let me bring that back up. So one of my nature ones. So this image was specifically from the role you saw me develop. I did have a lovely trip to New England. Yes, I did, Winged. But right now, I am... Where was I? That one. No agitation, just admiration. I like that. Twitch sucks so bad at showing team affiliations. Well, yes. Yes. So, and I mentioned this earlier, but yes, I am now a member of the web creative community as well as Artists Together. Just communities where people can collaborate and share artwork and just have positive experiences and just not be afraid to get out there. And you know, occasionally this goes off. So, if you are curious about the web creative community, there's your link. Ooh, that could be fun. So, so, low base. Back during the pandemic, when Artists Together was known as Artist Back Alley, there were a couple of times when we would collaborate with the team that was just known on Twitch as just Creatives, which was just a gigantic, you know, umbrella kind of team. And that was back in the days when everyone was isolating and we were all inside, so the raid trains would last the entire weekend. There'd be like 12 to 15 artists. Like, it'd start at like 11 or 12 Eastern time and would go to like 1 or 2 a.m. Eastern time, both Saturday and Sunday. So now that we have swept COVID back, under the rug and pretended that the pandemic never existed, people are back to having lives. So, now the raid trains are only on Saturdays, and we get about 10, 11 artists together to do a raid train. Because now we're not all cooped up inside anymore. But yes, so I'm currently editing some of the medium format film that I shot while I was on Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard. A lot of dead things. Because coastal Massachusetts is full of Puritan and early American cemeteries. And what you're seeing was shot on Ilford Delta 400 speed medium format film. There's going to be a few digital images I'm going to be working on tonight as well. Where'd you go? There you go. I mean the Delta film, the Delta series, like, I use predominantly 400, but sometimes I use 100 as well. Usually I save 100 for studio work, because that's something I like to do now in studio, is shoot a bunch of digital, but then also shoot off a roll of 100. I've never shot 3200. Like, that'd have to be some super serious low light or action sort of conditions, I would imagine. Or maybe some just... But yes, so last Saturday on the Artists Together raid train, I developed one of these rolls of film live, and I do that from time to time. You're technically pushing it. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. And yeah, that is definitely that's definitely a risk you take with that. That's why I tend to gravitate more toward like 100, 200, 400. But yes, if you any of you raiders are interested in seeing more of what I do beyond just graveyard photos like studio work, nude work, cosplay work, that is the link to my card page. That's like the link aggregate. It's kind of like Linktree. So if you can follow me on Instagram, Vero, you can find my website there. There's also a link to if you feel the urge to sign up for my Patreon. $5 a month gets you a physical print. Any one of my images that I choose at random. I mail that to you. I just mailed out this month's prints yesterday. There's also a link there on my card page for tips, because I voluntarily withdrew from being a Twitch affiliate, mostly because I don't stream as much as I did during the pandemic, and also it is a goddamn hassle at tax time to account for Twitch income. Costs more in tax prep than the actual money I make on Twitch. If you don't like grain, don't shoot Delta 3200. Fair point. All right. Then we get a... Yes, Wing, that is what happened. I voluntarily withdrew from being a Twitch affiliate earlier this month or late last month. When I did my taxes and realized that it cost me more to report my Twitch income than the Twitch income I made, I said, nope, you know what? Nope. I don't stream as much as I used to during the pandemic. But I very much appreciate you throwing your money at me and being a subscriber. All the money you threw at me went to my photography. That's where every penny I made on Twitch went. So this particular headstone was from the Dennis Village Cemetery in Dennis, Massachusetts. And this one was just the way it weathered and broke down just fascinated me. Because that's not typically how slate works. Slate is brittle, it cracks and it splinters. It doesn't usually weather like this, which seems to tell me that this particular stone was not completely slate. You don't need to. I've got the timer for that. Low base. Yes, I have. I have shot infrared. I did it a couple of times. And I realized, because I was so curious to see how that worked. So I shot a couple of rolls, one in a cemetery, a couple of cemeteries in Boston and in Plymouth. And I really wasn't getting, the infrared effects that I was looking for. But I did some like landscape images or wide angle images with the infrared, and I realized that worked far better for me. That I had much better results for that. I might actually have them floating around. Yeah. So so this was 2019 in Boston. That was when I shot Ilford SPX. That's yes. That's exactly why I feel like it worked better for me in Boston, you know, doing these wide sort of landscape images, because yes, that's what I learned, was that, you know, going into a cemetery and doing a lot of close up stuff in cemeteries, I wasn't getting the effect I wanted. But I genuinely don't remember, because I shot this 5 years ago, so I don't remember. But I can tell you that the film, it's Ilford film, it's SPX 200. Yes, I had a red filter. I had a red filter on my lens. That's why I didn't get the idea. It was still letting too much visible light through. Okay. Yeah, that was my first and really only time shooting infrared, so that was definitely a bit of an experiment for me. So what should I have used then? Because maybe I'll try it again. Ah, okay. The problem with IR film is that it's also sensitive to visible light, and when the visible light isn't... Yes. I feel like that was kind of why I wasn't getting really much of an effect when I was shooting IR film in cemeteries. Because it looked, when I developed it, it looked very much like I was shooting regular film. Okay. I'll just type it out in the chat. Wait a minute. SPX, SFX. Hold on. Is it SPX? Yeah, no, it is SFX, not SPX. Yeah, I typoed that. Yeah, it's SFX. So I'm going to relabel that folder. It's SFX, not SPX. There we go. Okay. So I want to use an IR 720 filter. Okay. I am going to jot that down. Excellent. I already did that. All right, let's close you. Things you won't be able to see through the viewfinder except maybe a teeny bit of red. Okay. Which of these digital ones do I want to edit? Let's do you. Taking a slight break from the dead things to move to digital. So this was in the Felix Neck Wildlife Preserve in Edgartown on Martha's Vineyard. And it was still, I mean, so earlier this month, it was still in the 50s because, you know, it's an island. And so spring really hadn't gotten there yet. So not a whole lot of birds. Well, thank you. Yeah, like this was so the only birds that I really saw at this preserve were Canadian geese because they're everywhere. And there was a heron behind me. But I had forgotten my zoom lens on this particular day. I thought I had it with me, but I had forgotten it back at the hotel room. so I didn't really get any good images of that heron, and also the osprey that I saw as I was leaving. So, womp womp. Yep, I already did that. Do my little gradients. I did actually at this preserve. I saw a rare thing that I don't usually see on Cape Cod or any of the islands on the Cape, and that was a deer. I managed to get within probably 20 feet of a deer, which, living in New York, I see deer all the time. They're, we've eliminated all of their natural predators, so, you see them right on the side of the road and they just glare at you to say, yeah, go on, hit me. You hit me, this will hurt me. This will hurt you more than it'll hurt me. Post-stream pre-break. I get that. Yeah, I didn't think so. No, no, no. Dial it back. Dial it back. So that's what we started with. Oh yeah, I like that much better. Much better. Cool, cool. Cool, cool, cool. And then because, it's me, I always like to do a black and white version. Because, it's me. Black and white will always be my first love. Okay. Yes. Welcome back. So we've done that. Yeah. We got one more digital image before back to the film. So, same nature preserve. One of the great things about going to a tourist trap in the off-season is that there's nobody there. There's nobody there. My husband and I had the entire nature preserve quite literally to ourselves. It was open. We didn't trespass. The gates were open, but we were the only people there. And it was gorgeous. It was wonderful. A great day. I took this image actually on the day of our 20th anniversary, May 5th. I did not arrange these rocks in this heart. That they were there. They were already there. Funny story of why I like Ilford films so much. I went the opposite way that most people do. I came into film from digital. I had little film cameras and never shot film as a serious photographer until long after I'd been doing digital. I always knew that the way I did my black and white conversions was reminiscent of it. Nice! Nice! I mean, I started shooting. I learned my first Photo 1 class was in my senior year of high school in 2003. And then when I left college after a semester and a half in 2004 or a year and a half in 2004 because I couldn't afford it. So I came back to college in 2012. And even then it was Photo 1 and Photo 2, which was still all film at that point. So in college, I decided to experiment with the type of film to shoot. So I used Kodak Tri-X, T-Max, Arista, Fuji, other knockoff, unfamiliar brands until I landed on Ilford. And my first Ilford film was HP5. And I really liked the results that I was getting with HP5. And when I had a little bit more pocket money again, after I started, working again, then I was like, I started dabbling in the Delta films, and I had to, these are nice. And I've stuck with Ilford Delta ever since. Just shot a bunch of HP5. HP5 was always like the student grade film. That was the film that my professor would give out. If you needed film and you were hard up, you couldn't buy any. So, I used HP5 for a long time. And then one day I decided to splurge on Delta, and I went, oh yeah. Do a little desaturation. One of these days, And I do mean one of these days, now that I actually own a house where I have proper ventilation, I will learn how to develop my own color film. Speaking of the film cameras I had as a kid, I was going through some old boxes and found one of my old camera bags. It's my old Minolta Maxim 50. It had 3 rolls of film in it. 3 rolls of Agfa that had been expired 15 years. I shot one of the rolls not too long ago. Was it black and white or was it color? Because if it was color, I would be very curious to see how much it red shifted. Color overexposed by like a stop and hat. Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine so. Yes, bot. Definitely drink some water. Hydrate, everybody. Oh my god, I do remember that. Man, I remember back in the... I remember store brand film. Like when I was working in like the Walmart photo labs between like 2004, 2005 and into 2006, you know, when people were still shooting a lot of like the disposable cameras, like people would bring in like you would see like the specific Fuji branded disposable cameras, the Kodak branded disposable cameras, but then you'd get like I'd get a disposable camera that'd be like, what the hell knockoff brand is this? And those would always cause the machines in the photo lab so many problems. Not the developing machine, not the mini lab, but when you would take the when you would then take the film and then run it through the scanner so that it could scan and make prints. Because what the scanner in a Walmart Fuji Frontier Mini Lab would do was that it would read the barcode on the film, or it would read the information on the film so that it would pop up on the screen. Okay, this is image number 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. They would be in sequence. But a lot of these off-brand films had no barcode, had no information, so it wouldn't tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it would cause the machine so much confusion because it didn't know where the film began and ended. Like I'd have to manually get those through. You had the Where's Waldo camera. Although my personal favorites, I mean, I've got a lot of stories of working in the Walmart photo labs. Like, when kids who were in their Photo 1 classes in high school would try to, cheat the system and get their black and white film developed at the Walmart 1-hour photo lab. If it was me, if I was the one that was looking at this kid's film, I would take one look at it and be like, nope, this is Tri-X. This ain't gonna work in my machine. It'll ruin your film. And they just look at me incredulous, like, what do you mean it'll ruin the film? It's 35 millimeter. I said, yes, but it is not color film. It's black and white. Our machines are developed, the chemicals are for color. If I run this through my machine, it'll ruin the film, and also do some damage to my chemistry. And then I, because I was, am still such a nerd, I try to explain the difference between E6, which is, a black and white negative film, and C41. So, but there were times when, if there was one of my coworkers would just, take the film, not knowing anything better, run it through the machine, and then I'd be at the other end because it might have been like a crazy busy day. It might have been a crazy, crazy busy day, and so someone else was just taking in film. And I'd look at what the machine was spitting out, and this like sickly, disgusting, purple-looking would come out of the other end of the developing machine. And as soon as I saw it, I'd be like, "Damn it! Somebody put Tri-X through the machine. God damn it!" Okay, so XP2 is black and white. It's color negative film that is black and white. Okay, I've shot a couple of rolls, not of XP2, but whatever the Kodak one was. Now I'm curious. It was black and white CN. It was Kodak BW400 CN. I would not have known that. I would not have known that without looking it up. So there you are. Thank you. I learned something today. Because I see XP2 and I just think, oh, it's, video game. I just think of an RPG. Final Fantasy Photography Edition. Okay. Getting close here. Don't need a whole lot of contrast on this one. Alright, and because it's me, we're going to do a black and white version of this. Alright. Let us go back to Dead Things. That's not a Dead Things. Those are beach. Ah! Dead Things! And here we are from the set of George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. I mean, like my soul. Ouch! Ouch! Ouch, my man. God, I want to just reach through the internet and give you a hug. Some warm tea and tell you everything will be okay. Ouch! Oh, don't do that. I'm way too autistic for hugs. I can barely... Okay. I get it. I understand. I actually own a shirt that says, don't hug me. All right. Cool. No problem. Well. Good positive vibes, then, in whatever form you prefer. You know, and then I see the opposite of that when I go to, I usually go to two gaming conventions that I go to on a yearly basis. And they're both PAX conventions. The first is PAX East in Boston, and the other is PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia. And invariably, there is always someone walking around the convention that wears a makeshift cardboard sign that says, free shrugs. And so he does his best, Squall from Final Fantasy VIII impression when you ask him for a free shrug. Okay. So, the bot tells me it is time for a photography fact. So, let me pull up a list of one of my default list of photography facts. And so, whoever is in the chat, pick a number between 1 and 66. Smart ass. Fine. I'll break out my D&D dice roller then. He's here to help. Okay. Let's shake up the dice roller and see what we get. 24. Actually, you know what? I'll give you two of them because they actually go together. I'll give you 24 and 25. The company Kodak was founded in the 1890s and became the world's largest photographic equipment manufacturer. And according to George Eastman, who was the founder of Kodak, the name Kodak was randomly made up and has no meaning. That is actually true. The word Kodak is, is a completely nonsensical word. George Eastman just thought it sounded good. And now they make cosmetics. Yes, because Kodak did the thing that Borders Bookstore did. And what I mean by that is, like, and it almost cost Barnes and Noble as well. Like, Borders Bookstore really underestimated the internet and Amazon in... Not quite. So, Borders and Barnes & Noble severely underestimated the internet and online shopping. Like, they saw this little upstart named Amazon, and they're like, who's going to want to order books from the internet? Just come to, you know, that'll never catch on. Online shopping will never catch on. Ebooks are not going to become a thing. We're good. Borders no longer exists. Barnes and Noble came very close to collapsing. And yes, I mean, I'm almost 40. So yes. We're getting up there. Soon I'll need the Geritol and the Mylanta and the Life Alert. I've fallen, I can't get up. But so what happened with Kodak and what eventually cost Kodak was digital photography. Kodak never thought that digital photography would catch on. They thought film would be king forever, despite the fact that Kodak invented the digital camera. They fucking invented the digital camera in the 70s. And they're like, nah, digital will never ever catch on. Cue Price is Right fail horn noise. Oh, before I do that. That does. That just absolutely boggles my mind that Kodak invented the digital camera and went, nah, this'll never catch. This'll never catch on. Yeah. I mean, also, if I remember correctly, like that original digital camera was like, it was less than 1 megapixel. It was something really, really tiny, like half a megapixel or a quarter of a megapixel. Something absolutely laughable today. Actually, it might be on my list of photo facts here. Yes, actually it is. So, yeah. The digital camera was invented by Kodak in 1975, and it only had 0.01 100th of 1 megapixel, weighed 8 pounds, and took 23 seconds to record a picture on cassette tape. That's brilliant. And now Kodak is basically defunct. Like, they've licensed out their film, like their film and their camera business. Yeah, but on the upside, they don't need a skyscraper anymore, and they're saving money renting that janitor's closet in Adobe's basement for an office. Just, and you know, that makes me think, because, like, I mean, I live in New York. I live, you know, in the capital region of New York. Rochester is about 4-ish hours away from me. And I wish I could have just as a photographer, and just knowing George Eastman's legacy in modern photography, I would have liked to have seen Kodak in its heyday. At the very least, I still want to go to the George Eastman house. Alright, we'll do another nature one. This is a lilac, or part of a lilac bush, right in my own backyard. This was, I looked at my medium format camera and I went, oh, I've got 4 exposures left, and I do not want to develop an incomplete roll, because that's just how my brain goes. I spent $10 on this roll of film. I'm gonna get my money's worth. Wait. Revert. Usually when that happens, you get photos of your face. Put you into color mode. But yes, for those of you who are watching me tonight and are not part of the web creative community, this is my first official stream as a member of that community. So if you are a seasoned artist or just starting out, it's a very, very welcoming space. Explore your creativity, chat with other like-minded individuals, and overall it's just a nice place. It's a nice place to be. So the link is there in the chat, webcreativecommunity.org. And it's been cool. It's, you know, now I've got some stuff to work on. So I'll definitely be sure to share some of that. And if you like what you see, there's my card page if you want to see my other photography, because I do a variety of stuff, not just nature and dead things. I do a lot of studio work, a lot of cosplay, a lot of nude photography, and if you feel so inclined and you want to support me financially, that will also give you a link to my Patreon or to my PayPal link where you can tip me any money I make goes right back into my photography. So if you're feeling generous, never required, but always, always appreciated. You mean art? So that's what a pirate does. Art! What time is it? 9:16? Yeah, we're getting so another 20 minutes or so before I will call it a night, because it is a work night. Frustratingly so, it is a work. You find art on your card! God. It's getting close to Renaissance Fair season, so it's like my brain is starting to shift toward Ren fairs, because that's what I like to do a lot of in the summer. Is here to, well, I appreciate the company and the running commentary. Running commentary was my other stripper name in college. How many do you have? Just the list of stripper aliases. Definitely some dust and scratches that I'm going to need to take care of on this one. I prefer to keep the mystery alive. Boys got bills to pay. Fair enough. I don't judge, I don't kink shame. So in case you are wondering, actually I think I have it nearby. Provided I don't trip on my own damn... I do. Hold on a sec. So all of these black and white images that I have taken and that you've seen tonight, in fact, actually, every single medium format image I have ever taken has been with this thing, with this big honkin' chongus. This is my medium format camera. It's a Pentax 645N, and with this lens on, it's about 5.5 pounds, so that's always fun, hanging off my neck. I feel like Frodo carrying the One Ring up Mount Doom. But it takes some really, really nice pictures. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I should. But I had to replace the original strap that came with that thing because it was providing no padding. So I picked up one of these OP Tech USA straps, and it does provide actually a nice padding. And the digital images are all taken with my trusty sidekick, who's now been with me for 10 years, which is my Canon 70D. All right. try her again. Always have shot Canon. My first film camera was a Rebel, and then my first digital camera was also a Rebel. It's the digital version. Yeah, my 70D, I will never ever get rid of it because not only, I mean, does it take great shots, but it also has a lot of sentimental value for me. It took me 12 years to graduate from college. Between having to pay for it myself and having many, many setbacks along the way, including a nasty one called Crohn's disease. My husband organized, without me knowing about it, so this was a surprise, my husband took up a collection amongst our friends and pooled money to get me that 70D. And that kind of moved me to tears when they presented it to me. They threw a surprise graduation party for me, and they gave me that camera. And yeah. No, 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 no. Let's see if I can use the Dust and Scratches filter to get that one out. Yeah. Cool. Like, obviously, I'm eventually, when I have the cash for it, you know, I will eventually move up in the world as far as better cameras, because that's 10 years old now. But I ain't getting rid of it. What I want to get, and I know it will take me a very long time to save up for, like actual years, unless someone really, really loves me. I'd like to dabble in shooting digital medium format. I mean, I have a Pentax camera and I have a couple of Pentax lenses, so there's some interchangeable there. But the body, like the body of the Pentax 645 digital version, starts at $5,000. $5,000 new. So I would definitely have to go the used and refurbished route. And a Hasselblad is like 8 or 9,000. So I'm just like, no. People do like my photography, but not that much. Ooh. I was wondering when that bot was going to show up. And for those of you who are watching, obviously, that I was gonna ask in a couple of minutes because I'm getting ready to wind down. I'm gonna do one more image after this. So yes, please. When I'm ready to rate, I'll ask you for the name. So all of my streams I archive on my YouTube channel, and the link was just posted in the chat. I usually I usually wrap up between 9:30 and 9:45 on a work night. So I know you weren't trying to rush me. But yeah, so I archive all of my Twitch streams on my YouTube channel. I usually put them up about 2-3 days afterward. They stay on my Twitch channel for 2 weeks before they drop off, and now Twitch sent me an email recently that they're going to change that. They're going to change that 14 days to 7. So when they enact that change, they'll only be up for a week. But on my YouTube channel, they're there forever. There we are. Yeah, and I decided I wasn't going to take the bait. So. Alright. Now, I want to do one more Dead Things, because that was what I told you I was going to do. So the last one we're going to do will be a Dead Things. Let's see what we got. Yeah, let's finish off on this one. I actually like this one. So this was from a small little family cemetery that is open to the public. And this was, I believe, one of the oldest, if not the oldest, headstone in this cemetery. It's for the Hall family. And it was a kid. 6 weeks old. Died February 1698. And right there is the whole reason why I started this series called Requiescat. As I said earlier, I said this whole series of my cemetery images was directly inspired by Trans-Siberian Orchestra's Beethoven's Last Night album. There's a particular song in on that album called What is Eternal, and it's sung by Beethoven. And he's trying to figure out what, it's his last night alive, and he's trying to juggle what he wants to leave as his legacy and what he wants to lose. And there's a particular lyric in that song, What is Eternal, and it's, what good's a life that leaves nothing behind, not a thought nor a dream that might echo in time. And that was the inspiration for this whole series that I've been doing probably about a decade now, or close to. So, as long as their memory still survives somehow, they're never truly gone. And yes, exactly. Just lower you a little bit. Not much. Let's actually crop you just a little. There we go. That's better. Associated with a web industry, I'm at an age I'm realizing I'll probably never get married or have a family, so I'm hoping I can leave the community behind to something good. Yep. Absolutely. Like, my husband and I have made the conscious decision not to have kids. And so something that I hope will outlive me is all of the art that I have created. Just something to say that, hey, I was here, and by the way, so are all these people. Actually, I think before I do anything further with this, I'm going to do a little burning, because there's some really bright spots in here that I'd like to tone down just a hair. Just so they're not so screamingly bright. I know it's sun, and I know it's reflecting off of the pine needles that are all over the place, but let's just tone you down just a little. I will say, as I've often said, as much as I miss making prints in the darkroom, I don't miss the post-production, This is so much easier. Last check for obvious dust and scratches. Like right there. Well, before I forget, just thank you, Low Base, for inviting me into this community. I absolutely look forward to contributing to it. Okay. All right. Alrighty. We've done a good solid 2 hours work. So before I let you guys go, I always do this at the end of all of my art streams, all of my editing streams. I just do a little recap just to show you what we did tonight. So let me pull up my handy dandy. Let me handy dandy Adobe Bridge here. So the black and whites we worked on today, in no particular order. Hey, Mr. J. Ranzella, coming in at the wire here. Coming in as I'm doing my recap before we head on. How are you doing, good sir? Speaking of amazing, amazing artists, this guy, Jay Ranzella, he is an amazing woodcutter and printmaker, and I've missed so many of his streams because Monday nights are like my piano lesson nights now, so it's like so good morning to you, sir. But be sure to catch Jay Ranzella whenever you can. He's amazing. So just to quickly catch you up there, sir, I developed 5 rolls of film this past weekend. I was on the Artists Together raid train. There was some agitation involved. A lot of these images are from my recent trips to Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard. So a lot of dead things and some nature thrown in there as well. So just showing off what we worked on tonight. So starting off with this. Yes. Oh, yes. Very intermittent agitation. Just slight. Occasional agitation. And we have this one from Katama Beach. Ah, yes. Okay, good. Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Very good, sir. I'm going to add that to the list of... As you slowly release your other stripper names, we're just going to keep a running list. Whoa! Getting a raid here. Double raid right at the end here. Ride my sailboat. Ride my sailboat. No relation to the Moody Blues song, Ride My Seesaw. But welcome on in. I'm getting ready to close up shop, but welcome on in. I am E. Royvis, also known as Brian J. French. I am a photographer. And I'm just starting to, I'm just showing off what I worked on tonight. All of the film stuff I worked on. So, we got this beach shot here, and then we go back to the Dennis Village Cemetery on Cape Cod for some very nice weathering. But not to worry. This stream will be archived on my YouTube channel in about 2 to 3 days. So if you miss it, you can go on my YouTube channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you know when I upload a new stream. So if you miss it, you want to catch the rest of it, be sure to check that out there in a couple days' time. Then we have this fancy portrait. And then we go to Abel's Hill Cemetery, the same cemetery where John Belushi is buried. As my husband there walks through the set of Night of the Living Dead here. That was the first one we worked on tonight. And then we have another one from Abel Hill. And then we have, this one was actually just like the last image on the last roll, because I had a few exposures left. So this was just part of a lilac bush right in my backyard. I do shoot on film. All these black and whites that you're looking at. Thank you for the follow. I think Ride My Sailboat, that might... You might be follower number 200. I think that might have just, that might trip 200. It's getting close. I don't know, my count says 199, so... Nope, that was 200. It just clicked over. 200 followers! Yep, it just showed up on my screen as well. 200. Nice! I feel like I'm going to have to do something now. Only took 4 years, but we got to... 4 plus, but we got to 200. And thank you, Mr. Renzella. Yes, so... Yes, I do shoot on film. All of these images are shot on medium format film, specifically Ilford Delta 400 for all of these. What camera do I use? Not a problem. Not a problem. For all my medium format images, I use this big honkin' side of beef. This is a Pentax 645N. Yep, it is medium format. All these images are medium format. I do shoot occasionally 35mm. I have a Canon Elan 7 for that. And then all my digital ones, I have my trusty Canon 70D. Thank you. So those are the 8 black and white images that I did tonight, and then I did a couple digital ones as well. So I'll show you the color version. This was from the it's from the Felix Neck Wildlife Preserve in Edgartown, Massachusetts. Only got to use medium format once in college and then never invested in a camera body. Oh! So, a last little quick story before I go. My introduction, and this is the last image to show tonight, so with these Canadian geese here. My introduction to medium format was, I took a class in college called Alternative Process. And it was basically non-traditional, non-35mm stuff. So I got to learn things like cyanotypes and Van Dyke photography, Van Dyke Brown photography, and pinhole cameras, and things like that. Really, really interesting class. And my introduction to medium format was using this cheap, plasticky toy garbage camera called a Holga. $25 camera, this little piece of plastic that is notorious for having light leaks, and that was part of its aesthetic, was having light leaks. So it was a very common practice to basically just have duct tape or electrical tape around the back of this camera to try to prevent light leaks. We love a good light leak. It's better than what you were doing in college. Do I want to know? So I shot medium format, and I shot quite a few rolls with it because well, now I'm going to have to. Hold on. Because I have those images. Hang on. Alternative process. Where are you? Color photo. Advanced photo? Ah, there we are. Hold on. So we're going back to like 2014, something like this. Like, so some of my Holga images. So I got that one. And we got this one. This is one of my favorites, actually. Because on a Holga, this is completely 100% manual, not even a light meter. It's just point, hold down the shutter, and hope. And there's no automatic film advancing, so you could take triple... you could take as many exposures before you remember, oh crap, I gotta advance the film. So that was a double exposure. So I took a bunch of these images on this Holga camera, and as I went on, I wonder what these images would look like if I used an actual SLR. So I saved up money from photo shoots and from Patreon and whatever little money I got from Twitch. And during the pandemic, I saved up enough money to purchase a used Pentax 645N, this exact camera. And then I shot medium format on an SLR for the first time and was just blown away. One of my professors that I used to keep in touch with said, warned me, said, once you start shooting medium format, you will never go back to 35 millimeter. And he was kind of very largely right. Just, you know, I still shoot 35 millimeter on rare occasion because, you know, it's nice to go back to my roots, etc., etc. But medium format has kind of been the way to go. Am I ever... The next thing I'd like to do is get a medium format digital camera, but unless somebody out there decides to drop like between 5 and 9 grand in my lap, that ain't gonna happen for a good long time. So, alrighty, it is getting to the point where I need to start winding down because it's a work day tomorrow, and so I need to start getting ready for bed and all that fun stuff. So, Low Base, if you can give me the name of that streamer that you suggested we raid here along the web creative community here. Jam's Perfect Imperfections. All right, let's copy that then. So we're going to raid. I don't have a prepared raid message. I think you do, but I'm just going to get that going. My next stream will be this Friday evening. I'm going to get back to my Final Fantasy VI playthrough, so I hope to see you then if that is something you're interested in. You'll probably see another art stream next week, probably Tuesday evening, in which I'll be doing more editing. So, thank you so much for spending some of your time with me. Thanks for the raids. I always, always, always appreciate the pleasure of your company. And one last time, if you are interested in all of the other photography I do, that link takes you to my Instagram, my Vero, my Patreon, Redbubble store, all of the links. So, whether it's cemetery photography, studio photography, cosplay, nude photography. I do a variety of stuff. So, again, thank you so much for spending some of your Tuesday evening with me. Always, always, always appreciated. Let's get that raid going. Art. All right, my friends. I'll see you Friday night if you want to see me play some more Final Fantasy VI as I do its 30th anniversary playthrough. But until I see you again, good night and joy be with you all. Be well, everybody.